Hey there, you've managed to find the NC Barn Door Build channel. On today's video, we're working on insulating our ductwork for our heat pump. And these are some of the fittings that I've done already. We have an elbow, we have an S-duct, we have a return air can, we have an elbow with some straight pipe. And I want to show you guys in today's video how I have done all of this. It's not the easiest thing to do, and this is my first time ever doing a project like this. So you can enjoy my struggles as I go through here and try to get this stuff wrapped and make it look good. So we have R8 insulation here that is backed. It's got a foil, cardboard-like foil on it for a vapor barrier. It's fiberglass insulation. I know with a 14-inch round, I'm 48 inches long this way. It's not enough for me to wrap it this way, so I need to put my duct here, and we're going to end up wrapping it this way. But I want it to get it to look nice. So what I'm going to do here, I know I'm 14-inch diameter with 3, that's about 17. Take that times your 3.14, so a 17-inch diameter. 3.14 is about 53. I'm going to add 2 inches for my overlap, so I'm going to mark it at 55. I don't think you have to be this exact, but for those that know me, I'm a little bit OCD, so I'm just going to put my level there to get a straight edge. And I could put a light mark on it there. Take some scissors. And we're going to go ahead and let's do this. I'm going to spin it around here just for my own peace of mind, and I'm going to lay my duct, actually lay it this way, and I'm going to pull it so I have the male end here. I'm keeping it back just a little bit to where my crimps start, and then on the female side over here I'm going to mark it just a little bit long, mark it a 1/2 inch long. Actually, let's do it this way. We're going to mark this a 1/2 inch long here. Again, not an exact science. Mark it a 1/2 inch long here. And just to kind of double check things here, let's lay our pipe there. See where we're at. Perfect. So the next thing I'm going to do is give myself a little bit of overlap on the end, about roughly 2 inches worth. So now I'm going to come through and just cut the insulation away from the backer here. And I'm going to save that for later. Now, let's see how it looks. And I'm going to line my seam up on my fiberglass insulation here with the seam on my pipe. And that actually looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to take it to the floor here and we're going to get it wrapped. So now what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to line up my seam. Pull my insulation over, and I have this flap right here that I'm gonna pull over and we're gonna staple. And we're honestly could probably make it just a fuzz smaller. I'm kind of lining up my seams here. So let's just maybe start there and keep things lined up. I'm not pulling real tight. This stapler is a reverse clinch stapler. I don't know what the official word for it is, but put some in the middle there just to get it going, and then I'm gonna get it wrapped here, and I'm just gonna run some staples right on down. And then I'm gonna flip this around, do it the other way, kind of pull it. Go. And I'm gonna try to get all my wrinkles out of it. Maybe slide it slightly so it's overlapping here. And I'm flush here so I can make my connection. And now I have all these staples here. I'm gonna take some duct tape. This is Nassau tape. This came recommended from another YouTuber I watch. It's pretty sticky stuff. But I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on here. I'm not trying to get it super tight and compress things. I just wanna lay it on there nice. I'm gonna make sure that it's sticking nice there. Probably should be squeegeed. Well, my squeegee seems to have went AWOL, so we're just gonna kind of press this in the best we can. And the whole point behind the tape is so your staples don't rust, because they can get cold too, so we want to get a vapor barrier over those as well. Now I'm guessing probably most people stop at this point, but I'm gonna actually go ahead and put some mastic on this as well, on the tape. So we're gonna go ahead and paint some of that on. I'm gonna stay back from the edge a little bit, just for the fact that I'm gonna have to tape this seam and I don't wanna have to run tape over mastic. I don't think it would stick real well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this on, overlapping a couple of inches on each side. And I'm just putting enough on here so you can't tell what's going on underneath. I'm putting it on pretty generously. I think this will help that duct tape from coming loose over time. All right, and that's the finished product. That's kind of the look that I'm going for. So we're gonna go ahead and call that piece complete. Here's what a reverse staple looks like after it's run through the gun. So you can kind of see it just curls up and holds your two pieces together. All right, now for this elbow, let's do this. This mastic's just a little bit wet yet. All right, we're gonna go ahead and seal this puppy up. All right, that elbow is on there. So now, instead of painting, I'm going to use some of this mastic tape. All right, now I can pull this back up a little bit. Yes. Before I tell you guys how I cut this, I'm going to make sure it fits first. Well, there you have it. Kind of a look at what it looks like. Not perfect for my first one, but I think it'll work. Probably could have pulled it a little tighter, but I think for the most part it looks pretty good. There's kind of a look at the back side. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is, I think all the duct tape is on there. I'm going to go ahead and mastic this whole corner, because I don't want to rely just on the duct tape to hold it together. So we're going to go ahead and mastic this, and we'll do half of it, let it set up, and then do the other half maybe tomorrow. And then this will be pretty much done. Okay, well, that first piece was a learning experience, but I think my pattern worked out decent. It wasn't perfect, but I'm learning here. So I'm gonna make some small adjustments with this pattern to cover this 90, and I'm not going to complete the process. I just want to get the pattern cut out and get it ready to go to put on this. And then when we get everything together to put up there, I don't want it to be too heavy and too awkward for two people to do. So I think I'm going to make the insulation jacket for this, but I'm not going to attach it permanently. We'll do that later. So the first thing I'm going to do, this piece again is 48 this way, 54 this way, and I cut that 2-inch piece of insulation off the end because we're going to end up overlapping that and give us a place to staple it together. So let's get the middle of this marked out. 52, middle is 26. This isn't an exact science. You probably don't have to go super OCD on this like I am, but strike a light line on this insulation here. Okay, so that's my middle. And I'm going to take my elbow. I'm going to put the crimped end over here. And I'm going to give myself just a little bit of extra room. I think I cut that other one just a touch short. So I take, I'm thinking of an imaginary line where this starts to curve, was pretty much right here on this rib. So if you take that rib and just kind of follow it down, you're probably looking a little bit more like this. So that's where I'm going to make my first mark. So I'm going to put this here. And I'll make my first mark here. And then I'm going to start rolling this way. Middle mark here. Do the same over here. I'm going to go past a little bit, 1/2 inch there. Follow my line around here, which is probably going to be something like this here. Call it 2 1/4. So 2 1/4, 13 1/4. And that's right at 25. And that one is 29. So let's go. 29 here. 29 here. So I'm going to make this my first cut. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off, make it a little more workable. I'm saving all my scraps, so I'm going to lay this in a pile because we may use this for fittings later on. We're going to finish putting our marks on here. So as we wrap this, you can kind of see we have kind of a triangle shape here in the middle. So that's what we're going to make next. And all I'm going to do, let's see if I can get this right. We're going to cut this way. So I'm not going to go directly to the middle line. I stayed out a little ways on my first pattern, and I think that hurt me because it made the angle a little bit off. So I'm just going to eyeball it and draw a line from there to there, and then try to go about the same point here to there, and then the same here, equal distance there to there, and here to here. So there you can kind of see my pattern, and I'm going to cut this section out, this triangle, and that triangle. Now let's see how this thing fits. So we're going to put it on here like this. This will get wrapped here and trimmed. This will get pulled over. Yeah, this is going to look a little better. My other piece was a little bit bunched up here in the tight bend area. This is going to look way better. A little bit of an overhang there, which is what I wanted. That's kind of the wrap, how it looks. That'll look way better. Then we'll do a little bit of a tuck here on the outside to get it where it's kind of puckered up there, to tighten those up. I'll show you how to do that. But that's a good pattern. Now, if I had a bunch of these to do, I could just, which I have one, two, actually got two more that I need. So I might just, now that I think this pattern is perfected a little better than my original, I can go ahead and cut two more of these, and then all my elbows, my 90s, would be all taken care of. So I think I may go ahead and do that. You know what? I'm going to do this just for the sake of YouTube, and so you guys can see this. I think it may come back to make things a little more difficult later on down the road, but I'm also kind of curious as to that little bit of change in the pattern, how that affects it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing. So some of this stuff, there's just a little bit of a gap. Probably if I square this off a little better, it would probably work. The other thing I have is these things right here, how they're kind of puckered out. So let's, I'm gonna put some staples on this duct tape too first, because I don't want to rely on that duct tape to hold these two pieces together. So go. That looks a little better there. Now to take care of these little pucker areas. So I'm just gonna stick my hand down in here and kind of separate the insulation from the vapor barrier. And I'm just gonna try to crease it a little bit. Let's talk about the building code while I finish up this elbow here. For our build, all of our ductwork is inside of conditioned space. North Carolina Building Code says if our supply and return ductwork is inside of conditioned space, you don't have to insulate. That could cause a little bit of a problem in that when it's hot and humid out, you're asking your air handler to pump cold air into your supply side. You could possibly get condensation if that metal gets cold enough and you get some warmer air that hits it. It could start sweating. Likewise, in the winter for me, my ERV is going to be dumping into my return ducting. So at night when it's really, really cold, single digits down into the teens, yes, I'm going to preheat that air before it comes in to the supply side or the air handler side of things. But I could get that ductwork cold enough where the warm air inside the house hits it, condensates. So keep in mind, building code isn't going to keep you safe or be right or correct for all situations. Okay, so that's the second elbow. Little better here. I think I probably could cut this side just a little bit shorter. But for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. We'll get that hooked in with the next deal. But I think I'm going to hold off on wrapping any more of these because it is going to be kind of awkward to put the screws and stuff in. We'll probably have to tuck this stuff around, I guess. Would be the way to do it. All right, this is a little bit more complicated. This is coming off that, I guess it'd be this way, coming off my cold air return box and coming up here so I can get a little closer to the ceiling to drop things in. So I think I think I may do this in 2 separate pieces. So let's see if I can't figure this thing out. Let's start here. And we'll put a mark here. And then as we go here, I'm going to say there. Line 1. Line 2. Now this has to be a triangle, so I got to think about this. It's going that way. I want this line to come to a point, so all right, so let's see if we can get this duct box. Well, there you have it. There's a look at the S duct that'll be coming off the return air box. And I think that's pretty good. So let's just take a look at it once. I think that's doable. Then we're going to go ahead and tape this around here when we get to that point, and then we can mastic the whole thing. But I don't want to try to get this whole piece up in that hole. So we're going to get the can up there, and then we'll kind of tape things afterwards. I think it'll be a little bit easier instead of trying to work that around. So that's it for now. Well, guys, hopefully that gives you kind of an idea on how to wrap ductwork. Again, I'm a beginner at this, so you're witnessing somebody learning this process as they go. And it just takes a little time, I guess, and practice doing it. So this is the last piece on the return side that really needs insulated. And I think before I do this, since it needs to be mounted on the air handler, I'm going to do that first. And then we can come back and wrap it later. I think it'd be easier doing it that way as opposed to trying to fight this with the insulation on top. And the other thing that I guess throws a little bit of a wrench into the machine, our mechanical room, since it's in a finished area, I really need to get that finished before we hang all this ductwork and get the unit placed. And before I do that, I need to have the electrical rough-in complete. So we're going to have to switch gears a little bit, probably come off the heating and cooling and get to the electrical rough-in, get some of that done, and maybe get that room finished so we can get mounting some of this stuff. The other thing that we have coming up, probably in the next video, is going to be a fireplace install. Need to get the framing done for that. The unit's supposed to be in next week, so we'll kind of pull off of this for now, get focused on the fireplace, get that whole section built in, and then get our electrical rough-in complete and maybe come back to this and start getting this stuff installed. So, of course, all subject to change as I run into things and issues, and I guess that's part of the deal with first time building your own home is what's the best order to do things, and I'm, again, just learning that process as we go. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section below. I'll do my best to answer them as always. That's all I have for you guys today. We'll see you on the next video.